Hey there! Before we start the podcast, I need you to put down that wavebird and listen up.
I need money.
For a tenth of what the price of that wireless GameCube controller costs,
That should be like $5 if you got it off Shop Goodwill.
you can support me here at the podcast of Two Consoles Too Late.
I need to buy more games.
Your support gets bonus content like additional episodes, Discord server access, typewriter manifestos, and personal shoutouts on the airwaves.
I actually have a typewriter.
Vote on Patreon polls to see what video game I talk about next.
Nothing on Atari 2600.
So go to patreon.com/2consoles2late because what the world needs is more Stick It!
Hi, everybody.
Maybe what they're seeing and how they're seeing it, and also video games. I'm hearing more and more people saying the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
And constant crises have shaken the entire world and have threatened in each case to bring on the gigantic conflict, which is today, unhappily, a fact.
9 programmable weapons buttons. Customizable feedback software.
Don't just buy a new video game. Make one.
He doesn't have a PlayStation 5.
That's because he's Two Consoles Too Late.
That's right, I don't have a PlayStation 5, and if I did, it would have done a strange update that I want to talk about here on the podcast. And this is the Two Consoles Too Late podcast. I am Jackson Keebler, and I am Two Consoles Too Late. In this episode, we're going back to 1990, talking about the post-apocalyptic future of 1997. Talking about the action RPG from SNK called Crystalis. And finally, technology has beaten me down to the point where I have a whole bunch of Stick It. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go. The Two Consoles Too Late podcast is now being recorded through a Rode Streamer X. Now, what is a Rode Streamer X? For those who don't know, I shall tell you. It is a capture card, it is a microphone interface, and it is a soundboard. So it's everything I've ever wanted in one little device. Example, if I'm talking on Auction Alert and I find something that's worth money, I can just hit a button and my little soundbite plays. Getting this thing working, though, was quite the challenge. I actually had to reach out to Rode Tech Support and ask them, you know, I can hardly hear my microphone. What's going on here? I'm using the Rode Pod mic, so I guess the two devices should somehow like sync up or talk to each other, because that's how I think now. It's like if you have two Sony products, they somehow talk to each other. Well, that's not the case. Anyway, so I called Rode Tech Support, and Rode is it's an Australian company, so the tech support agent, crikey, he was from Australia. He said the pod mic is very gain hungry, so you're gonna have to turn that gain all the way up. So I did, and it's working. But I'm kind of on the fence about this device. But anyway, so I had this Elgato Stream Deck. My intention was to use that as a soundboard. And if I got that working, then I would just simply, do away with this Rode Streamer X. But so I downloaded this plugin for the Stream Deck Mark II that allows the Stream Deck to interface with GarageBand. Basically, you can use the Stream Deck as a MIDI device, so that when I hit the button, it just recorded into GarageBand. So I paid $13, and the plugin that I downloaded needed OS 11 or higher, or something like that. So I was like, well, I can't use that. I guess I have to get a refund. So I sent an email to the company that created this plugin, Icon City, saying, hey, can I get my $13 back? And unfortunately, I did not read the refund policy of Icon City, and they said, sorry, no refund will be given. You're stuck with a useless plugin. So, to Icon City, I have to say,
Stick It!
And that was through a Rode Streamer X.
PlayStation 5.
That's right, I don't have a PlayStation 5, and it's something I'm quite proud of. And frankly, if I had $800, I don't think I'd spend it on a PlayStation 5. During COVID, I when the PlayStation 5 first came out, I gave it some thought just because I had, some money, some COVID money lying around. But I think the ultimate reality is I just probably would have turned it on once, maybe twice, and probably never used it again. I'm actually giving some thought to getting a PlayStation 4, but that's another podcast episode. Anyway, an article came across my news feed from Kotaku, written by Zach Zweizen. The PS1's iconic boot up is now waiting for you on your PS5. The PS5 can also cosplay as a PS2, PS3, and PS4 as part of PlayStation's 30th anniversary. This morning, PS5 owners booted up their consoles and, assuming that they had auto updates turned on, were greeted with a surprise. The original and iconic PlayStation 1 console boot up logos and music. It's all part of Sony's ongoing 30 years of PlayStation celebration. And there's more beyond the PS1 intro, though sadly everything is only temporary. This really came as no surprise when I saw this article that, Sony is sending you auto updates. I personally fear technology and the fact that you just turn on your device and something changed through the internet is kind of scary to me because it kind of makes me wonder what they're sending that you don't know about. I don't remember all this hullabaloo at the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation, and that was 5 years ago. And my guess is that we were heading into COVID and things and times were a little strange, but it seems for this 30th anniversary of PlayStation, there's just been, I don't know, like more exposure. Like I'm seeing more social media about, 30 years of PlayStation, and it's a strange year. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just me. So for those who don't know what the PS1 boot up was, it's this. Nope, that wasn't it. That's me saying a bad word. It's this. And I still think it's a great startup. I just, I love the bass, I love the sound, and I said it once, I'll say it again, when I hooked that up to a stereo back in the day, that was just like I was talking to the gods or something. So if you do have a PS5, which I do not, then your PS5 updated to these iconic startup sounds, and I hope you enjoyed them. I do not have a PS5, and I have no plans on getting one, but like I said, I think a PS4 might be in my future, but like I said, that is probably going to be another episode here at Two Consoles Too Late.
Crystalis, new from SNK. For play on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you up to the challenge?
No, I was not up to the challenge, but thank you for asking. That is the original commercial from 1990 for the game Crystalis from SNK. Now, why did I put a commercial on the podcast? 1, it's super cheesy. And 2, I needed to know how to pronounce the name of the game, so I put the commercial in here. It's not Crystalis, it's Crystalis. This is some difficulty I have with these old retro video games. I don't know how to pronounce the names. Anyway. So, I actually haven't, all right, full disclosure, I haven't played Crystalis in like about a month. I started playing it a month ago thinking, all right, I'll do an episode. I'm just now getting around to it. But, so to that, I'm a little rusty. But Crystalis was developed by SNK and was released in 1990. And SNK, of course, was better known for their arcade fighting games like Fatal Fury and King of Fighters. But they decided to try their hand at an action RPG for the NES. But it was not your typical Zelda clone. Crystalis was sort of a mashup of sci-fi and fantasy that sort of stood out. This game was, of course, in direct competition with, like Zelda 2, Final Fantasy a little bit, Castlevania 2, games that we all know and love. So this one's a little bit under the radar. Funny little fact, though, Crystalis in Japan was not called Crystalis. It was known as Godslayer. So I guess that was just a little too heavy. So when it came to America, they said, you know what? Let's not call this Godslayer. Let's just tone it down a bit. So they called it Crystalis. Let's do a little background on the game Crystalis. What is Crystalis about? Well, this is straight from the manual, the story of Crystalis. And my God, it is 2 pages long, and I'm not going to read all 2 pages. Although it does explain a lot, because back in the day, that's all you had was the game and the manual. It has been said that an ending is merely a beginning in disguise. And so it was that when the Great War engulfed the world, bringing civilization as we know it to an end, it ushered in the dawn of a new era. An era in which science and technology were shunned, for they had proven to be mankind's downfall, and the ancient arts of sorcery and magic were revived. Well, I think that's pretty relevant because right now technology is seriously being shunned here at Two Consoles Too Late, and it is proven to be at least my downfall. As the survivors slowly rebuilt their world, towns and villages began to spring up, and the wisest and most capable of the magicians used their magic to keep order. Peace reigned over the land for 100 years, until a powerful magician named Dragon, intrigued by the forbidden ways of science, began to study the principles of machines and flying. Realizing the power he might wield if he combined his magic with technology, his mind became twisted by the urge to control and dominate his fellow man. Dragon created a computer capable of simulating his magic powers. He placed it in a floating fortified tower, and from this airborne fortress he built and controlled his growing empire until the entire planet was threatened by his ever-spreading evil. The villain's name, Dragon, just, of course, jumped out at me because, well, that's one of the bosses from Super Metroid. So I did a little search to see if there was any sort of copyright infringement, but apparently there wasn't. So yeah, you're fighting this villain named Dragon. But what made Crystalis stand out wasn't just the story. The gameplay was also kind of ahead of its time. It had fast-paced action, real-time combat, and 4 elemental swords. And those swords are wind, fire, water, and thunder. And eventually, I think if you put all those together, you got the penultimate weapon of the Crystalis, which is the Dragon Killer. I like the fact that there's kind of like a charge beam in this game. So if you hold down the fire button, you have like a little meter, and you're able to sort of zap your enemies. I thought that was a nice little touch. But this game does have RPG elements. There is leveling up. There are magic spells. And there is some exploration as well. But another place where this game shines is the soundtrack. And this soundtrack, for an 8-bit soundtrack, was pretty good. It's written by Yoko Asaka. And it sort of captured the mood of this apocalyptic fantasy world. Now, when I was playing the game, I thought that it sounded a lot like Star Tropics. So I'm going to play both. I'm going to play Star Tropics, and then I'm going to play Crystalis. And to me, they sound similar. To you, they might not. But here we go. All right, so that was The Test of Island Courage from Star Tropics, and this is Fields from Crystalis, written by Yoko Osaka. Right, so for my money, I prefer the Crystalis music way more than the Star Tropics music. And as a game, I prefer Crystalis way better than Star Tropics. It's just a little bit more my speed. But that music complemented the vibrant, wonderful, colorful sprites of Crystalis and the detailed post-apocalyptic environment of Crystalis. But Crystalis was not as commercially successful as, let's say, Zelda, but it definitely left its mark on the genre. It's one of these cult classic NES games I think that people still talk about today. And SNK loved it so much that it got ported to the Game Boy Color in 2000. But that version doesn't get talked about too much. Does this game have a cult status amongst retro gamers? Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't place it in that sort of status. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. But when it comes down to it, for an action RPG, I'd rather play Zelda 2 or Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. But there is a hidden nod to Crystalis in SNK's later games like King of Fighters, where two characters actually make an appearance. But if you are a collector, Crystalis is one of those NES games that still holds value today somewhat. Price Chart has it at $20, but a complete in-box version can run you $70 or more. And so, of course, I had to find a copy on Auction Alerts.
Auction
Alert.
Once again, a copy of Crystalis for the NES it's a common game, and a loose copy is $20. So, of course, I went over to the shop Goodwills to find a copy, and I did. I found two listings. One is coming from the Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana. The title is Nintendo NES Console Parts Repair Controllers 17 Games Mario Bros. Kirby Adventure. The time of this podcast, there's 12 hours and 52 minutes left on the auction. There's been 6 bids, and it's up to 105.76. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, but there is a copy of Crystalis in this lot. And the other listing I found came from the Goodwill Easter Seals of Minnesota. It's a lot of Nintendo NES video games, Yoshi Cookie, The Goonies 2, Mario Brothers, and more. And the "and more" is you get all these games and a copy of the manual for Crystalis, which I thought was kind of interesting. A manual for Crystalis, I went over to Price Chart just to see how much that was. The manual for Crystalis is $12.75. And that's not that bad. And right now, this lot is up to $26, and there's 4 days, 12 hours left on this auction, and there's only been 2 bids. So, a copy of Crystalis can be had rather easily. And I did find some sold listings on the shop Goodwills. And 2 of the listings are for Crystalis for the Game Boy Color. One copy sold for $41, and the other copy sold for $48.99, and that had 1 cent shipping. But there were 2 copies of Crystalis, Vintage Crystalis NES Game Pack with original box and booklet complete. That went for $56. And Nintendo NES Crystalis 1990 video game. That had its box and cartridge. I'm not sure if that... it had a manual. And that one went for $66. So, single listings for Crystalis can be had, but that's usually only with the box. But once again, Crystalis, fairly common game and can be had on the shop Goodwills on Auction Alerts. Being from Baltimore, we have a celebrity here, and his name is John Waters, a renowned filmmaker who's known for many, many films. And one of his lesser-known films is Pecker. And it's about a photographer who takes pictures on the streets of Hamden in Baltimore. And Pecker is played by Edward Furlong. And this is the Terminator 2 Edward Furlong, a very young Edward Furlong. And in the film, him and a friend go into a supermarket, and Pecker takes pictures of his friend putting items in other people's shopping carts. And they call it Shopping for Others. And it's a really funny segment. It's a great movie. You should check it out. Funny little factoid is the supermarket where they filmed that scene, it's no longer a supermarket. It's now a very bougie restaurant in Hamden called The Food Market. Last time I was there, the food was not that good, and it was loud as hell. But a lot of people seem to like it. Anyway, so the title of Shopping for Others is sort of my inspiration for a new live stream I'm going to start doing called Shopping for Video Games. And I'm just going to do a live stream of me on Shop Goodwill looking for video games. A couple weeks ago, I was looking for James Bond games. For this episode, I was looking for a copy of Crystalis. So usually when I'm scrolling through the listings on Shop Goodwill, I'm looking for something specific. So I just thought, you know what? Now that I've got all this equipment, let's give it a shot. So I think Saturday nights around 8 o'clock, head on over to twitch.com/2consoles2late. Jump in the chat as I search the Shop Goodwills for video games. And next Sunday, I hit level 45. I follow this Facebook group. It's like an over 40s gamers group or something. And people are always posting selfies on their birthdays saying they reached a certain level. The level is their age. So I will be reaching level 45 next Sunday. So I will be shopping for birthday presents on the live stream next week. So definitely tune in for that. You can also head on over to patreon.com/2consoles2late. At the $5 level, you get all the goodies, including the Miracle of Save States magnets. And that's at the $5 level. But once again, thank you for listening to the podcast. I've been the host, Jackson Keebler. Check me out on the interwebs. Just go to Google and type in 2 Consoles Too Late. But as always, have a good one. I love you, and goodbye. Alright. What? It's not an easy blooper. It's hard to do that voice. Oh, don't do that, please. You just want to get on the podcast with that noise. I should document it and then give you a sticket for that noise. Alright, come here. Alright, you ready? Miking you up. There you go. Oh, it's so bad. Ah! It's like nails on a chalkboard. But worse. But worse. Well played, son.